there as well too. And so he's telling the story, and basically just rehash, he goes to, see if I can read. Anybody know what that says? I got it. Okay. He goes to Abraham and seed. The child of promise is going to be through Sarah, right? Isaac is the one whom the promise is going to come through. Why is that significant? Because he has two sons. He has Ishmael and Isaac. Ishmael is born to Hagar. She is from Egypt. And then, of course, Isaac is born through Sarah. And the Lord is saying that I have chosen Sarah to be the mother who's going to carry the promise through the son Isaac. You look at Abram during that time, and it's like, why did he do that? There's a lot of cultural stuff going on that says it's okay. But when God gives a promise, his promise is not dependent on culture. His promise and what it's going to do is transform culture. And so what Abraham thought he was doing that was right, God has said, that's not the way I want to do things. I have said that Sarah is going to give birth, and so I'm going to do that, and that's going to be that child of promise. I don't care what your culture says, this is what I'm going to do. And God does that. He sovereignly does what he wants to do on the earth. Now, so Isaac is going to be born. Rebekah then is going to have twins, right? And Jacob is going to be the one to carry the promise. Jacob and Esau are what God says when she's having a hard time and not knowing what's going on in her body. She goes to inquire of the Lord, and the Lord says, there are two nations in your people, and there are two nations and two people within you, and there's a struggle going on. Now that's important that we're going through this, because all this is what Paul is talking about and reminding people of in Romans. And remember, you cannot read Romans and look at Old Testament prophecies without making sure, or Old Testament stories, without making sure you understand what those Old Testament stories say, because Paul knows what they say. And when Paul is talking about something in Romans and referencing something in Exodus, we need to make sure that we go back to Exodus, understand the story, so we can understand fully the point that he's making in Romans and to those people, okay? Make sense? All right, good. So, there's two nations going on within her. Jacob I have loved, Esau I have hated, and these are the nations. Now, there are some people that say that this is not about nations, this is about individuals, those two people. Well, that's not what God said. If you're just reading Romans, you might think that. But if you go back, God is the one who answers Rebekah and says that there's two nations within you, and there's two peoples. Okay? So then what is God speaking of? Is he speaking individually about Jacob and Esau, or is he speaking about the nations that are going to come from them? Yes. Okay, so two nations, two people whom God has. So, and the reason I say this is because when you look at even the lineage of Jesus, and you look at throughout the Bible in different places, you're going to find that there are people that are coming from nations that God says he's hated, but they have repented, and they're either have converted to Judaism. They've come from Moab. They've come from places that Rahab was coming from, a place, Jericho, where God was going to destroy and take down these walls, and everybody's dead but she, right? So it's important to know that God is in the business of declaring his name, and we want to understand his sovereignty correctly in the midst of everything going on. Now, so Paul is going to talk about Moses, isn't he? Okay, so let's take a look at what's going on here. Isaac, your seed shall be called. I have a son. Rebekah, election might stand. The older shall serve the younger. Jacob I have loved. Esau I have hated. Remember, when he's quoting Jacob I have loved and Esau I have hated, where does he quote that out of? He quotes that out of Malachi, which is way down the road. Okay, what shall I say then? Is there unrighteousness with God? Certainly not, for he says to Moses, I will have mercy on whom I have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I have compassion. Okay, let's stop right there for a second. where does he say that to Moses? Well, I'm glad you asked. We will look at this in Exodus 33. We're going to be in Exodus a little bit today, so I want to make sure. Yeah. So in Exodus 33, the Lord is going to say those very words to Moses. Now, the question is what is the context that Moses, or that God is saying, I will have mercy on whom I have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I have compassion? What is the context in which he is saying that in Exodus? I'm glad you asked. You are such scholars. Here we go. Exodus 33, if you're a biblical scholar at all, the background of this is we've just come out of Exodus 32, and it's not good. It's not good, people. Moses has been away for probably 40 days up on the mountain, presence of God, getting the commandments, and he's not gone very long, and all of a sudden they come to Aaron, Israel, who's left behind. They come to Aaron, and what do they say? Hey, who knows where Moses is? He's not around, so make us a god, and we shall serve him, and we will say that this is a God that brought us up out of the land of Egypt. Right? That's what they're going to say. And the reason that is significant, and the reason this is going to be so bad, is because they are going to, and Aaron, the steadfast second guy, so strong, is right there by Moses' side, says, okay, take off all your gold, give it to me, and I'll fashion something. Well, way to hang in there and preach the gospel, buddy, or stay true, right? That's what you call weak leadership. Bending to the will of the people when you know what you should be doing, but you're like, okay. And the reason this is going to be so bad, this is going to be so horrible, is because God said that, when he comes, and it's in the book, he says that, I met with Abraham and I met with all those guys, but I never really revealed my name to them. But to Moses, I'm going to reveal my name. And so he does, and to Israel. And so what they do is they take the sacred name of God and they attach it to the golden calf. Not good. If you ever wondered what taking the name of the Lord in vain means, that's a big one. And so Moses up on the mountain, he's got the Ten Commandments. He's about to come down, and the Lord knows what's going on. And what does he say? Get down from me, because I'm about to strike these people, right? And he's like, yeah. All right, so we get into Exodus 33. And we're still hashing this stuff out in Exodus 33. And I want you to see some things. So when the people, in verse 4, when the people heard the stern words, and they went into mourning and stopped wearing their jewelry and fine clothes, for the Lord told Moses to tell them, you're a stubborn and rebellious people. If I were to travel with you for even a moment, I would destroy you. That's big. Remove your jewelry, your fine clothes, while I decide what to do with you. So from the time they left Mount Sinai, the Israelites wore no more jewelry or fine clothes. As it was Moses' practice, he's going to set the tent of meeting and set up some distance from the camp. Probably wise. Everyone who wanted to make a request of the Lord would go to the tent of meeting outside the camp. Whenever Moses went to the tent of meeting, all the people would get up and stand at the entrance of their own tents, and they would all watch Moses until he disappeared inside. And as he went inside the tent, the pillar of cloud would come down and hover over the entrance while the Lord spoke to Moses. And when the people saw the cloud standing at the entrance of the tent, they would stand and they would bow down in front of their own tents. Inside the tent of the meeting, the Lord would speak to Moses face to face as one speaks to a friend. Afterward, Moses would return to the camp, but the young man who assisted him, Joshua, son of Nun, would remain behind in the tent of meeting. One day Moses said to the Lord, you have been telling me, take these people up to the promised land, but you haven't told me whom you will send with me. You have told me I know you by name, and I look favorably upon you. If that is true, that you look favorable upon me, then let me know your way so that I may understand you fully and continue to enjoy your favor. And remember that this nation is your very own people. So the Lord replied, I will personally go with you, Moses, and I will give you rest from everything and will be fine for you. Then Moses said, if you don't personally go with us, don't make us leave this place. How will anyone know that you look favorably upon me and on your people if you don't go with us? Now, that's the NLT. I want to read that last little bit here from the New King James, because I was struck. Sometimes when you're you've been reading your Bible for a long time, and then something just like strikes you, right? In a good way. And so I want to read, not that whole thing, but just this little last bit here in the... Okay. You say, bring up these people, but you have not let me know to whom you will send me. You have said, I know you by name, and that you have found grace in my sight. Now therefore I pray, if I found grace in your sight, to show me your way, that I may know you, and that I may find grace in your sight. And consider that this nation is your people. And he said, my presence will go with you, and I will give you rest. Then he said, if your presence doesn't go with us, do not bring us up from here. This is, it's interesting how he's talking to God. I mean, he's not like being chastising towards the God or anything like that, but these are kind of like some humble but bold words that are coming out of his face. Now listen, if you're not going to go with us, don't take us from this place. And he said, my presence will go with you, and I will give you rest. Then he said, if your presence doesn't go with us, do not bring us up. For then how will it be known that your people and I have found grace in your sight, except you go with us? So we shall be separate. So we shall be separate, your people and I, from all the people on the earth, upon the face of the earth. So basically what he's saying is, if people are going to know who you are, God, and know these people, how are they going to know that we're separate from everybody else if your presence doesn't go with us? And I'm going to tell you something today. And I think TV land, whoever is out there watching, you need to hear this too, okay? This is such a word from the church today, for the church today. Hear me. For individuals and for the corporate. So many times we are so willing to go into places to try and experience things that we believe are godly, not even realizing that his presence isn't there. We are so willing to accept something less than what he has offered. And here, God has had it. He's had it with these people. He's like, I get away from me before I strike you. You know, he's like, there's an anger here, and a justifiable anger that's happening here. But he's looking at them here, and Moses is trying to be the bridge, the mediator, and he's telling them these things like, listen, if we're supposed to be separate, nobody will know that if your presence doesn't go with us. And church, nobody will know if you don't have his presence, you're not different from anybody else on the earth. And that's the problem in the church today.